YouTube, Carbell here. Today we're taking a look at the Nitecore MT21A. The MT21A is powered by two AA cells. This flashlight has a maximum lumen output of 260 lumens, and most interestingly, a 200-meter throw. That's actually a longer throw than the PD35 that I reviewed for you yesterday. So we take a look at this flashlight. The 2AA format is not generally one of my favorite formats. If we take a look at the PD35 here, you can see that it's actually a longer flashlight. So it's a very long flashlight, and with the long throw bezel, if you take a look here, the bezel is almost identical in size. So this is a pretty large flashlight compared to the PD35 for the lumen output. But the AA's are easy to find and they're inexpensive. I'm running lithium in there for increased runtime, but I do like that it's easier to find the AA's. It's a little bit more common battery and they're a little bit less expensive to replace. So a couple things caught my attention on this light. First of all, I like that it had such a long throw. Second of all, it has an interesting user customizable mode system. So let's take a look at that. You can see here it has a tail clicky on the back, and the rest of the mode is controlled by loosening and tightening the bezel of the flashlight. So when the bezel's tight, you turn on the flashlight, it's always going to come on in turbo mode. Now turbo mode is 260 lumens, and it's estimated runtime of 2 hours. So if I loosen the bezel, you can see here I have selected the light to go into the low mode, which is 15 lumens and has an estimated 50-hour runtime. Now if I tighten the bezel back up, it goes back into turbo. If I loosen it, it's going to be in low. Now if I tighten it, turn the light off, next time I turn it on it's going to be in turbo, and then it stays in low. However, if I leave the bezel loose, like it is now, and cycle the tail clicky, the flashlight moves to the next mode. This is the SOS mode. You can see those 3 fast blinks, there's the 3 long blinks. Now if I leave the bezel loose and cycle it again, we're in strobe mode. Our next mode is high, that's 130 lumens, 5 hours of runtime. Next mode is medium, 60 lumens, 12 hours. And then the next mode would be our low mode again. So now if I tighten the bezel, it goes back to turbo. So let's say that instead of going between turbo and low, I want this to go between turbo and strobe. Let's say I'm a police officer or I'm worried about self-defense. What we first do is leave the bezel loose, cycle the tail clicky through till we reach strobe. Now tighten the bezel back up, leave it on turbo, turn the light off. Now next time, when you turn the light on with the bezel loose, it goes into strobe mode. Now the only thing to remember there is if you want that to be your secondary function, you always need to tighten the bezel before you turn the light off again, or it will change the secondary mode. Takes a little bit of getting used to. It's kind of nice. I personally prefer to leave the light in low and turbo so that I have an excellent runtime when the bezel's loose in the second mode, and I can instantly go to the turbo mode for maximum throw. Overall, this light does fall very nicely to hand. My hands are fairly large, and this fits perfectly in them with the, as you can see, just the bezel sticking out, and I can easily grab the thumb clicky. Light comes with a lanyard, extra O-ring, extra tail clicky, rubber, and one kind of funny thing about this flashlight, when I was first putting it together, I didn't realize that both the front end of the flashlight and the rear come off, and there was actually a piece of silica gel packet left in the tube of the flashlight, and I was trying to fish it out and couldn't figure out how to get it out of there until I realized that the bezel actually comes completely off this flashlight, and you can be left with just a tube. So I thought that was kind of a funny thing. It kind of caught me off guard. I felt like a little bit of a noob doing that. But overall, this is an interesting flashlight. Sorry to pause the video for a second there. I actually forgot to look up the list price. I thought I'd go ahead and give that to you. The list price is, actually, I'm not sure the list price, but on Amazon it goes for about $30, which is roughly what I paid for it here at my local store. I think it was about $35 locally. So it's a decent price. I feel for the lumen output, that's actually a fairly good price if you compare it to something like that TMT by 511 that I showed you that was $70 and had a similar, actually lower lumen output. So this light does accept nickel metal hydride or alkaline. I'm using disposable lithium, however Nitecore does not recommend rechargeable lithium in this battery, so that's a consideration to make. I went ahead and decided to go ahead and run it on lithium cells, lithium disposable cells, and it does just fine. So that gives me a little bit longer runtime. I don't have the exact numbers on that, but it should be higher than the standard alkaline or the nickel metal hydride times that they list. Overall, it's actually a nice flashlight. Overall, the form factor is a little long for me, but it's fairly lightweight, and I feel like it's very well built. The user interface system takes a little bit of getting used to. It's a little frustrating if you ever forget to put your light back in turbo before turning it off, because you'll find yourself sometimes cycling your modes on accident. You're going to have to look through them all again, and of course you have to go through SOS and Strobe to get to any of the modes, so it can be a little obnoxious if you're trying to get to a lower mode for a area where you want lower level lighting. So that's something to keep into account, take into account when thinking about purchasing this light. Overall, I recommend it if you're looking for something that has less expensive cells than something like CR123 or 18650. But other than that, I do feel like the PD35 is a little bit better light overall, which of course it would be at basically twice the price. So for the money, this is a fairly good light. I would definitely pick it up over something like a mag light or anything of that nature, which you find in the same price range. I want to thank everyone again for your views. Leave me any comments you might have. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll be back soon with more videos.